Here we go. Handling objections. So what are objections, guys? Objections. Objections are statements from customers who want or need to know more information about you, your company, and your products and services. Let me explain something to you. Unless they object and they don't show any kind of interest, they're not going to buy. You know, it's called the Law of Six. The Law of Six says that in negotiations, there are 6 objections to get the final yes. Now, if you've been going to your presentation and only handling 1 or 2, and which, by the way, in the country is 2. Did you know that? In the world is 2. Most people only average 2. And guess what? You're losing sales because you need to get to more. You need to get to 3, 4, 5, 6 to get the close, right? There are only 2 types of objections. Number 1, those that will slow down or stop the sale. Now, one that could slow down a sale is no money or no credit, but then their partner might have money or credit, or their spouse may have money, credit or money. So never, if they say I have no money, no credit, don't stop there, because you're going to dig a little deeper and see if someone else can help them get into it. All right? And I know that we've got the credit app and the payment plan now, so don't give up on that. All right? Number 2, those that have taken advantage of will move the sale forward. So either one, write this down, you guys. A no is a maybe, and a maybe is a yes. If they say they got no money or credit, that doesn't mean anything. If they say, I want to think it over, we handle it the same way. Got that? All right, great. So let's move in. So the first thing, before you are given an area of concern to address, you are telling. After you hear it, you are selling. See, what happens is when you're presenting, you're in your flow. You know, you got your script, you're using the investigative selling techniques, you're feeling pretty good, right? Then you start getting objections. What they basically have done, guys, you've been in control, and now they've handed you your whole presentation right on your lap, and you're like, it's like they handed you a big timber tree they just chopped, and you got to hold it, and the timber tree is 200 feet tall, and you're just going, whoa, what do I do with this? What do you do with it? We're going to chop it down one cut at a time. All right? So you get ready for that. So a no is a maybe, and a maybe is a yes. Concerns are the steps to the sale. If they don't object, challenge, or fight, most often they won't buy. Now, here's what I want you to do at this moment, you guys. Concerns literally define their main areas of interest and give you the feedback you need to structure your strategy towards the final close. Now, I really want to give you a lot of value today, and every day I'm with you. So what I did is I want you to grab a pad of paper and get ready, because I'm going to give you your strategy steps right now. Ready? So I'm going to give you 5 principles. Write that down. Omar's going to give me 5 principles to set up my structure and my strategy towards the objection and the final close. You ready? The first principle is to prepare for the negotiations. How do you do that, Omar? Ready? Write this down, guys. Step number 1. Set your agenda. So your agenda could be, let's say you're walking in and you want to gather information. So I want to find out, you want to say to yourself, before you go see this client and customer, what exactly do I want to get out of this negotiation? Right? Do I want to build rapport? Do I want to close them? Do I want to see what they use? Everybody's different, right? So you've got to find out your selling style. Now, I believe that you should always close the first time. But the first thing is to set your agenda, and you should have 2. Write this down. A plan A and a plan B. Plan A is a perfect scenario of a perfect sales process, handling objections, negotiations, and then closing the sale. plan B is what I will leave with, right? Plan A, remember I've told you already, plan A is to sell them a package, the biggest package, the best package, the greatest package. Plan B is to get a sale. Because we know in marketing that the more they invest in, the more return they're going to get. So plan A is the full, as Zig Ziglar taught me, the whole shoot and match. Plan B is just a sale. Got it? Now, step number 2 is to determine your position. When you're there, you got to understand you can't get what you're going, and you can't get where you're going until you know where you are. So when you're going through the sales process, think of how many steps you're going to take to get that sale. Is it going to be because the one of the decision makers is not there? That would tell me you're going to need a 2-step sale. But we want a 1-step sale. Remember, be-backs or be-gones. So try to get that sale the first time you meet them. But if you walk in and they had an emergency and the other decision maker's not there, then we're going to have a step there, right? So you got those things to look at. So you need to determine your position. Also, you need to look at time frames, budgets, when they do things, when their budget's coming, all these different things. So some of the questions I would ask would be, you know, what do you normally invest in marketing, right? That would be a good question to ask. I would ask, what conditions may affect you going ahead with me, right? I would ask, what's your position about marketing? Do you love it? And again, find out if the decision maker's there. Now, you got to know what kind of negotiation style to use. So if the person is very aggressive, we call them the controller. The controller is someone that's you know, real powerful and wants to run you down. If they're very sensitive and quiet, they're the empathetic. So we need to know what negotiation style you're going to be. Remember, people like themselves. So we want to match their rate of speech, their tone of voice, their volume, their pitch. If somebody talks loud, you got to talk loud. If they talk fast, you talk fast. If they talk slow, you talk slow. If they talk soft, you talk soft. So your negotiation style is going to change according to the person you're talking to. Now, Omar, what if you have 2 people in front of you? Look at who makes the decision and always include the other person, but focus on the person that says yes. Got it? All right. So step number 1, remember, is to pre-plan and prepare. Step number 2 is to determine your position. Hope you're taking notes. Step number 3 is to then make sure that you are now gathering the what? You want to understand the other party's position. So here's what I want you to do. When you negotiate, the key is to align with them. What do I mean? Well, Omar, what Omar means, guys, what I'm saying is when you align with someone, it's very important that they are saying to themselves when they start giving you objections that I'm on your side. So aligning with them is to align on their side. So no matter what they say to you, it costs too much, I want to think it over, I got to talk to this person, you have to say, I understand the other party's position. Whether you agree with it or not, you have to understand it. So once you understand this way of thinking, you can then tailor your presentation at that time to meet the needs and expectations. Now remember, the main thing that we are going to be doing when we start negotiating in a little bit here is justifying, rationalizing their decision. Okay? Now, basic principle number 2, which I told you, is to then continue to, number 1 is prepare, number 2 is to make the information exchange. Those other ones were bullets inside of number 1. And then, how do you do that, Omar? Ask good and important questions, all right? And be an active listener. Avoid closed-ended questions. A closed-ended question, unless you're moving them forward, is a word that a question that is answered by one word, unless it's yes. Got it? I'll go into it in a minute. Just go with me. Ask open-ended questions. Open-ended questions are questions that begin with who, what, when, where, why, and how. Now, the next thing you need to know is basic principle number 3. Know your concessions in advance. So what can you give them that's not going to hurt you? Like payment plans, like filling out a credit app, like anything you can give them that's not going to cost you. Got it? So do that. And then, of course, I call them gimmies. And then close the deal, which is number 4, close the sale. And then number 5 is to follow up and follow through. All right? Now, I'm going to leave those around in case you have questions at the end about that. Now, we're going into the negotiations in deep. You must qualify to isolate their conditions versus concerns. You did that in the process that we talked about earlier. Then, a condition is a valid reason for not going ahead. But we said we're not even going to accept those. No money or no credit. And then, a concern is an invalid condition, uses a defensive mechanism. As I told you before, they're saying, I want it, I want it, I want it, but I'm afraid. Right? To slow down the buying pace or stall the final decision. So let's get into it. Treat a condition like a concern. If it doesn't break down, always get a referral. No matter what, if somebody says no, get referrals from them. You're important. You're out there working the business. You got to get referrals, even if they say no. When isolating concerns, never argue or fight, but do ask the right questions to lead the customers to answer their own concerns. So, here we go. 7 steps to finding the real objection. Now, guys, if you noticed, I worked for the last, 35 minutes setting this up for you. Why? Because I believe that the setup is as important as handling the objection within itself. So, here we go, guys. You ready? All right, get ready to rumble, rock and roll. Handling areas of concern. Objections are the customer's last line of defense. 7 steps to finding the real objection. The first step, when they say any objection, you're going to hopefully bypass it if it's in your presentation. Your customer is telling you their concerns. Listen to them. You may want to postpone the concern by saying, I'll get to that in a moment. Or, that's a great concern. I'll cover that in my presentation. Now, if it's something that is not in the presentation and it's very important to them, make sure you cover it. All right? Number 2, examine the importance of the concern by rephrasing or reframing it in their words. Whatever they say, you rephrase it or reframe it in a form of a question. If they say it costs too much, you say it costs too much. Today most things do. Can you tell me about how much too much you feel it is? If they say, I want to think it over, you say, you want to think it over? That's fine. Obviously, you wouldn't take any time to think this thing over unless you're seriously interested. You know, whatever say, I want to sleep on it. You want to sleep on it? Okay. At whatever they say, you rephrase it and reframe it in their own words. Now, whatever they say, you're going to do this now, because I want to save you time. If they say it costs too much, you say, today most things do. Can you tell me about how much too much you feel it is? They say it's $100 too much. You're going to say these words because I'm going to help you cut down from 6 to 1 right away. If they say that, you say, they say it costs too much. Today most things do. Can you tell me about how much too much you feel it is? They say it's 100. I'm just going to use a number. Don't, go, oh, it's not 100. No, it's a training. It's $100 too much. So you say these words. Ready? Putting money aside. Putting money aside. Is that the only thing holding you back from making a decision today? See, guys, I'm taking them from 6 objections to 1. or 2. Because time is important when you're closing. So whatever they say, you say, putting that aside, putting the budget aside, putting this aside, putting money aside, whatever they say, you say, putting that aside. Is that the only thing holding you back from making a decision today? When they say yes, you say, great. Now you say in your head, I own this one because Omar's training is going to walk me right through this. Right? Now, you examine the importance. Then, step number 3, you find the key answer to the concern. The key is, remember, in qualifying. That's why I went into qualifying so deep. The key is usually found within the concern itself. So whether it's money, whether it's time, whether it's, whatever it is, you have got that from qualifying. Next. Then you verify to see that you have answered the right concern. So let's say I'm going to use the $100 just as an example. They say, Omar, it costs too much. You say, today most things do. Can you tell me about how much too much you feel it is? Omar, I think it's $100 too much. You think it's $100? Yeah, okay. Putting money aside, is that the only thing holding you back from making a decision today? Oh, yes, oh, yes, oh, yes. Good. So the $100 is the only thing holding you back from making a decision today. Yes, Omar, it is. Great. So now we give them the answer by justifying the $100 or verifying, like say it's the flowers. And you said that, how many flowers? You never tell them. You ask them, you said that earlier before we were talking about roses, and that's your #1 seller. Question, how many more roses would you have to sell? How many more dozen roses would you have to sell to pay for that $100? Well, Omar, 4. So 4. Do you feel from what we've been talking about that you'd be able to sell 4 more dozen roses a month? Well, Omar, I do. Now, most of the times they'll say yes. If they say no, then you got to justify or rationalize it. If they said yes, then you verify to see that you have answered their concern by saying this. Does that answer your question? Yes, good. Then you move on and you go for the close. Now, you always go for the close by summarizing, write this down, summarizing all the benefits, features that they have told you they're going to receive from marketing with you or marketing more with the mobile app and begin to build yes momentum again. Got it? So go for the close. If the close doesn't work, go back to the benefits and features and begin to build yes momentum again. Got it? Now, from that step, if they say, oh, I got to think it over again or something else after you did the summary and go for the final close, now you pause and then reclose again with, I want to think it over, the close. That's fine. Mr. Johnson, obviously you wouldn't take your time thinking this thing over unless you were seriously interested. I mean, I'm sure you're not telling me that. Just give rid of me. So may I assume you will give it careful consideration? Just to clarify my thinking, what phase of this mobile app is it you want to think over? Is it the marketing I want to produce? Is it the investment? Please level me. Is it the money? And then get back to the money or whatever it is. Remember, 95% of the time it's the money. And then we be prepared for more objections and learn to use turnaround statement. What's a turnaround statement, Omar? A turnaround statement is a statement that will help you turn them around, get them back in the presentation, and handle the objection that they handed you. If they said it was money first, and now they're saying it's something else, you've got to be able to continue the process. So we use these turnaround statements. Here are my favorites, guys. I brought them for you. The first one, I sense you're a little hesitant. Would you mind telling me what you're thinking? So what you're doing is you say, oh, I sense you're a little hesitant. I'm on your side. Got it? Remember, I'm aligning with them. I'm on your side. I sense you're a little hesitant. Would you mind telling me what you're thinking? That reduces the fear wall, and now they're going, great, I'm off the hook. The next one I like. That certainly makes sense. However, see, you're agreeing with them. Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. However, now we're going to go back and justify or rationalize a decision. And then the next one. I can appreciate your concerns. Again, I'm aligning, I'm agreeing, and I'm their friend. I'm lowering the fear. I'm lowering any pressure they're feeling. And now they're saying, gosh, he's taking, I'm not on the hook. I'm not feeling any pressure. He's so nice. He's really believes in what I'm doing, which is true, right? But I use these words because if they say, well, you know, I still got to think it over. You can't say, well, you told me you weren't going to think it over. You said it was just money. You said before it was just $100. You can't do that because you lost them. So you say, I sense you're a little hesitant. Would you mind telling me what you're thinking? That certainly makes sense. However, I can appreciate your concerns, although, okay? So, all right, so Damien, I wanted to see if anyone had questions. We've been going there for a good solid time. Anybody have questions about the training today?
Yeah, let me, I took some notes down because I didn't want to interrupt your flow, but I want to go back. Take me back on the slides, if you don't mind. Go back a few slides, and I'll pull you in.
Okay.
Where you're doing the qualifying. I want to tie it in a little bit more here on the qualifying for the mobile app sale. Sorry, it's a few back there. So are you guys liking this? Pretty good stuff? Let me know in the chat window if there's anything that you'd like us to address as far as objections that you're facing out there in the field that Omar and I could help you tackle. Carmena, I see the one from you, so it's on the list here that we're going to be handling that. Okay,